The Microsoft ecosystem is constantly evolving, and for many partners, it's overwhelming to keep up. Constant program updates, intricate incentive structures, and ever-changing priorities leave partners struggling to stay ahead. Without a clear roadmap, critical opportunities are missed. These challenges don't just cost time, they cost revenue. Working with Microsoft doesn't have to be this difficult. With the right support, you can cut through the complexity, take control of your strategy, and unlock measurable growth. We help partners simplify their path to success by providing the guidance and resources needed to fully maximize their Microsoft relationship. Ready to learn more?
All right, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon to you, good evening, depending on where you're at. I want to say thank you so much for coming to this version of the Voice of the Microsoft Partner. I love this. Once a month, we come here and, really appreciate your attendance, really appreciate you talking to other folks about this, about what we do here. The whole premise of this, we started this 5 years ago, was really helping to translate really some of the stuff that goes on with Microsoft, really. And I think today is really going to be pretty good. We're going to be looking through a lot of different things. Should be some good nuggets for you to take. This is being recorded. So a couple things: if you do not want your name or likeness or anything to do with you, go ahead and jump off. But it's okay. Well, we record this, so we can give you the recording. Not a problem. We also have our own note taker that's in here that's private to us, that is private domain, that will summarize this, and then we can also send it out to everybody. A couple of things before we get started. We're going to be doing polls today. So we have 4 or 5 pretty cool polls. The idea of the polls is to kind of just get your interest, to understand a little bit about what's going on. So we want to make this interactive. We don't want this to be death by PowerPoint. We always want to make it very interactive for anybody who's joining. Now, we do not publish who's voting on anything. So please don't worry about, like, we say, oh, well, hey, Jamie said yes, this, or Michael or whatever, right? George said this, right? That's not what we're trying to do. We are literally just helping this kind of foster conversation. That's really kind of what the polls are for, to kind of break it up a little bit. A couple other things too. Please ask questions. We have a whole team here that's on. I got my team here, so if there's questions that I can't answer right away, my team will answer them in the chat. The third thing is we always are very keen on partner-to-partner relationships. This is not to be used as a commercial, because that's not what we want to do with this. However, we want to make sure that you can go ahead and put in your name and your company, what you specialize in. So go into the chat, go ahead and do that. May not be a bad idea, because you might have a business, let's say in Florida, but there might be a partner in California. You might have some business that you need somebody else to help you with. Go ahead, put your stuff in the chat window if you feel comfortable. I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to network together. With this, we don't have any rules behind that kind of stuff. So with that being said, those are the kind of what we're doing today. Today's gonna be 1 hour. We're gonna land the plane right at 12, and we got a lot to cover. Now, and I tell you, there's some things in here that are kind of weird because of how Microsoft. So if you are confused, please raise your hand. We want to help explain some of this stuff to Microsoft, or from Microsoft back to you. So today, let's go ahead and get in here. We got our first poll question. Actually, we're very curious, because we get a lot of people saying yes or no, they're going. They don't think they're going. I'm just curious. Go ahead and vote on who's going to Ignite. We'll see who's going to. I've heard a lot of people say, well, no, I'm not going because it's just not partner related. There's really no reason to go. It's gone. It's only for the really big partners. It's not really for the small partners, or the regular partners. And look at this. This is telling, right? So we had 12 people that responded to this. 64% said no, they're not going. That's far different than the old days, right? When we had those big Microsoft events. I really miss those old ones, right? So pretty good. All right, Alan, thanks so much for coming. All right, Scott May. All right, hey, the great Scott May. I just want to let everyone know who this is. One of our great partners at Stratos Cloud Alliance. If you are a Dynamics partner, call Scott. Talk to Scott because they're a distributor. They're the distributor, in my opinion, for all Dynamics or business application partners first and foremost. And Scott is beyond reproach. He'll always have my biggest endorsement. We work with them for the past 5 years in different capacities, and just nothing but great things to say about what they do. So, anyways, you want to Scott? You didn't know I was going to go ahead and say all these nice things about you, but hey, you deserve it, brother. Thanks for coming. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and get to the next one here. The agenda, right? Our welcome there. We have a couple people online that might be speaking today. David Glantz and Andres Oseguera. They're our directors of Microsoft Alliance programs here at the Kranzer Group. And then really our mission today is finding hidden earnings in Partner Center. So what we're going to kind of do is we're going to turn Microsoft momentum into profitability. We're going to talk a little bit about cloud program levels, and then we're going to look at costly gaps that hurt your business. So just to kind of do and clarify a couple things here, I'm going to be doing an arc. Okay, that's the way I kind of look at it. I look at it as the story for us to understand what we're actually doing. So we're going to start with, understanding some Microsoft things that are going there. And then I'm going to show you an example of what we do, which is an audit for Microsoft, because it really comes down to there's a lot of breakage. Okay, and let me just back up here. You all know, and you've been in your partner centers, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I can't understand this. We've done over 100 partner audits in the past 6 months, and our audits are like 38 pages. We're digging into everything. And you know what we found? We found on average 21% breakage from what you've sold at your distributor versus what is in your partner center, which then changes everything, because now you have solution partner designation issues, you have specialization issues, you have back-end incentive issues, you're not getting all your co-op, you're not getting all your earnings, right? And I will tell you, the gold standard, okay, when it comes to reporting, and you're going to be thinking, really, is your distributors. Those are the gold standard. That's where we get our main list from. But so a lot of the problems can be, customer partner record, partner admin link administration, GDAP, naming conventions. There's a lot of little things there. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of get into all of those things. So with that being said, let me go ahead. We got our next poll question here. I'm curious, are you frustrated trying to understand what to focus on with Microsoft? This is a good starter. This is a good way to kind of get into this next thing. So we got one. Let me go ahead and vote so I can see what the submissions are. Okay. All right. So we've got 6 responses, 67, 78. We've got a couple people 3 people that said no, they got it, and man, that is awesome to hear. Actually, hey, I'm happy, when we get good people that understand that. Well, okay, cool. So thank you so much for responding to that. There's a lot of things that are hard, and what I want to kind of get at is, there are 1,000 Microsoft programs that are out there, and it's getting worse year over year, right? Our approach is, look, there's 1,000 programs out there, but what we need to do is focus on the top 5 programs that are going to give you the biggest return on your investment as a Microsoft partner. Okay, that's what's important. Is how are you going to get the most money working with Microsoft? Now, when we do work with partners, we typically say, hey, we need to keep our head down. We're going to focus on these 5 first. And that can take 3, 6, 9, 12 months, right? But when that happens, then we say, okay, go ahead and take a flyer on one of these other programs that come out and whatnot. But what I want everyone to focus on is what is going to bring you money, okay, back from working. What is the reward for making or working with Microsoft, right? So a couple of things that are causing problems with profitability is, with Microsoft, getting specific direction on, or guidance is nearly impossible. Now, the fact that, the PDMs, we used to, when I was a PDM at Microsoft, I had 40, at my first year, I had 65 partners. My next year, I had 40 partners. Now, talking to PDMs, they have like 6 partners are managed, right? They just kind of keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And they say distribution is supposed to be helping you out, but let's be honest, do they really help you out? I don't know. I don't think so. I should have had a poll for that one, right? But anyways, getting guidance is really important on. What should you focus on, right? These are problems with profitability. What should you focus on to get the maximum ROI? And I've got this great slide that I'm going to show you here in just a minute that's going to help you really understand the levels. What are specific steps I should take, right, to actually do that? People are wondering, can somebody, explain how this all works? I'm going to show you today. I'm going to give you a real great insight on how it does it. Next thing that we actually hear about from a lot of people is, how do I get leads from Microsoft, right? Back in the day, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we used to get a lot of leads from Microsoft, but frankly, it's changed completely. And I'll tell you how and why and how to actually turn that spigot back on today. The next thing that we also see a lot of is, are there reporting issues to contend with? So, what's interesting about that is when we dig into the SPDs and all the reporting portals inside of the solution partner designations, man, they're just rife with errors all over the place. And that's affecting a lot of people. You can't trust the portal to tell you, oh yeah, this is my score. Oh yeah, no problem, right? That's doing that. And I think the last thing that I think is kind of hampering people turning this into profitability is, what are the cons if I don't align? Right. A lot of times I'll talk to people and say, is the juice worth the squeeze, man? We'll take a look at a partner's portal and talk to them about, how much business they're doing, and they're wanting leads, they're wanting to do this and wanting to do that. And I tell you, probably 2 out of 10 conversations we have with partners, I'll just tell them, hey, you're good at partner success level. Just get the MAPS subscription or partner success subscription. It's not going to work, but you just don't do enough business. Don't waste your time, kind of thing. And I think being candid with people is really important, right, to reputation. So anyways, these are some of the things that I think we all can agree on, that are actually happening, with stuff that are causing problems. Okay, so let's dive into something that seems so rudimentary. However, I think it's really important to understand. Right. What are the AI cloud program levels? And I'll kind of give you my theory and kind of how I look at these. Okay. I know it may be rudimentary, but let me explain to you how I think about this. So, and some of the changes that are happening. Okay. So there's 4 levels, right? You have membership level, partner success, solution partner designation, and specialization and expert offerings, which is basically advanced specialization. Now, when SPDs came out up to about a year ago, all of the real benefits lied within the expert offerings, advanced specialization. There really wasn't programs that were available for people who had solution partner designations, partner success, and membership. There really wasn't a whole lot available, to you. But things have opened up, and some new things came in October 1st. It's going to help everybody out. But let me explain them to you from my perspective. So, membership is, hey, you want to be a partner. You heard about selling some Microsoft, you got a domain name, you register, you put your tax, info in, and whammy, you got an MPN ID and you got access to some marketing and some training. Okay, cool. Awesome. Training portal. Awesome. Okay, great. That's it. Next level is called partner success. And the very thing that triggers this are really 2 things. One, that you sign up for I call it an internal use rights package, either MAPS or partner success. They kind of named it that, right? And that comes with varying number of licensing. One, the MAPS is like 5 licenses, I think, and partner success is like up to 20. Varying costs, from that. But you've done that first, okay? And then the second thing, which is important, is you signed up as a CSP provider with a distributor, okay? So if you're a Dynamics partner, you're signing up with Stratos Cloud Alliance, right? If you are a regular partner, one of our go-to partners, our favorite one, is Arrow Distribution. So if you're not with Arrow right now, take a look at them. That's my only plug. That's my plug. Sorry. Okay, I know we're trying not to commercialize this, but there you go. And now what you're getting inside of that, okay, is partner success. You're starting to get your margin, which is the discount you're getting from your Microsoft distribution relationship, 10, 15, 20%. You're not going to make a lot of money off that. You can't run a business just on that. Okay. So the next step is Microsoft says solution partner designations, right? Super cool. 1 out of 6. And now they're combining them down to 3. However, Azure infrastructure, solution, data and AI, you have your security, your Office 365. You have to score 70 out of 100 points. Okay. When you get that, then now you get what's called back-end compensation, back-end incentives, and you get access to co-op dollars if you reach certain thresholds. Cool. Now, I want to just caveat this. What's really cool about today is, number one, there are some new assessments and deployment dollars that are actually coming for partners that have just a solution partner designation, meaning that there might be an opportunity. Let's say you have the Azure infrastructure solution partner designation, you can qualify for then what is called AMM, Azure Migrate and Modernize deployment dollars. Holy crap! I mean, that's actually significant, right? Because you can get $5,000 to $15,000. That's a competitive advantage against your competitor who doesn't have the SPD. Really cool. If you have a security solution partner designation, got a whole bunch in there. I'm going to get into that slide. Okay, so you're starting to get some more of that now. In the past, up until October 1st, this is what's really important. Okay, in the past, the benefits with a SPD is not just the back-end residuals and compensation, but you're also getting the IURs, the internal use rights, up to 100 licenses. Cool, sounds good. It's like gold and silver. Okay, but you also get access to bounties. You also get access to accelerated ACR. But now, October 1st, they said, hey, we understand that there's a lot of partners out there that can't get the SPD because of certifications or whatever. And so they lowered the bar to say 25 points. So if you have 25 points, but you got to score in all the 4 categories, you got to score something, they'll turn on the back-end incentives, but that's it. They're not going to turn on the IURs, not going to turn on anything like that. So if your silver just expired a few months ago or gold just expired a few months ago, you're like, son of a gun, I'm not getting my back-end compensation. Rest assured, you just got to go in there and press a couple buttons, elect to go ahead and take that on, and you're going to still get your back-end incentive. But what that should tell us is that's a very small stopgap, and it may go away 6 to 12 months from now. Okay, they're kind of doing it to kind of ease a little bit of the pain of final silver and gold or final gold. Okay, but where we want to get to is advanced specialization. Now let me explain to you, and this is where profitability really turns in. When you get to advanced specialization, and this is why it's so key and important to keep your head down and keep going after you get your SPD, is because that opens up hundreds of thousands of dollars in assessment dollars, deployment dollars, bounties, accelerated back-end ACR money. It's unbelievable. That's where the buckets of money are. You want to know where the room is, where they all have all the money for you partners? Go get an expert MSP or expert advanced specialization, and whammy, you're going to get access to hundreds of thousands of dollars, which will absolutely just separate you from all your competitors. All your competitors will be like, oh yeah, this is the installation cost. And you're like, well, hey, by the way, Microsoft trusts us so much. Not only are they going to pay us to do an assessment for you, they're going to pay us to do the deployment for you. Go ahead and ask ABCIT if they'll do that. Well, ABCIT doesn't have that significant certification, so forget it. No, I'm going to go with your company, right? So not only that, but the accelerators in the back end are impossible. So the difference between a solution partner designation and an advanced specialization when it comes to money is 4x. So if you're making $20,000 in back end residuals, okay, let's say on a $100,000 deal. That same deal, if you had the advanced specialization, is $81,000. Unbelievable. That's where all the money is. So if you can take something away from today, the biggest slide you can take, or the biggest direction you can take from today is, I got to get advanced specialization, and I'm going to forget all the other programs that I'm working on. I got to figure out. Now, there are a lot of times there are problems with the advanced specialization because there's audits and there's different things. We can help you with that if you ever have a problem with audits. We understand how that all works. However, there are a couple specializations that you actually don't have to go through the audit. You probably didn't know that, but there's actually 2 of them. If you want to know, contact us later. We'll tell you which ones those are, but you literally have to take like an assessment test, and then you can get the advanced specialization, which then opens up everything. Okay, that's what's the key here, is how do we maximize our ROI? So if you take a look at this particular slide just by itself, you can walk away saying, yeah, I'm going to forget the rest. I'm just going to go ahead and get my advanced specialization because that's going to give me the best chance to get the most ROI, right? And I would also say that I think mapping is what's really important with that, right? All right. So with that being said, next poll question. Okay, do you think there's missing attribution inside a partner center that leads to loss of earnings? I'm just curious what you guys feel. Okay, we're just waiting for our there we go, our poll presenter. I'm curious if you guys think that is a pain point that you're kind of dealing with. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and respond. Not that my response is really going to matter, but oh my gosh, look at that, right? I mean, just even with 8, 10 responses, it's 100%, right? And we know this. It's almost kind of like redundant poll questions, right? But it's like, gosh, and I had a lot more hair before we started this company, man. My hairline was down to here, but I could keep pulling it out to get the damn money from Microsoft. But you know, our methodology is Microsoft no longer gets to keep that money. No, we're done with that crap. Anyways, thanks everybody for hitting that poll there. Okay, hold on. Okay, I guess we can launch this one here. Do you know which steps to take to boost your incentives? I'm sorry that we're having a double poll here, but let me go ahead and just do that one real quick. I don't want to have us poll, what you just say? Poll overreach? No, I can't remember what the term. All right, okay. So do you know what steps is to boost your incentives? No, okay, that's cool. Thanks everybody for voting. We'll move on from the polls here. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to give you here, this is something to snip and to hold on to, is the optimal partner roadmap. Okay, this is the optimal way of doing this, and this came from one of our audits. You know, and what we did is this person had a current status. They had a modern work solution partner designation. So when we went through this, we said, okay, what we want to do is we want you to achieve the Azure Solution Partner designation, right? And that's going to help you get 10 points. We want you to achieve the security solution specialization, okay, a solution partner designation. The next step is to then develop co-sell ready Azure Marketplace offers. So now you probably heard about the marketplace. Now the marketplace is almost irrelevant to anyone who thinks that they're going to get leads from consumers. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get leads from consumers on the marketplace. You're not. What we're doing in the marketplace is we're actually creating offers so that when we get the advanced certification, we can start reaching out to Microsoft sellers. Now the sellers, how they're going to look you up is two ways. One, in doing their internal, okay, what type of business are you doing? But secondly, they're going to look at the marketplace. Why? Because when they look for a company who's doing your certification, if you have the advanced certification, you get added to a very special drop down at Microsoft where it's based on geography. So if a customer or if an account executive at Microsoft is looking for a security solution partner or advanced certification partner in Texas, in Austin, they're going to do geography first. Then the next thing they're going to do, they're going to look at your marketplace offers. Now, if your marketplace offers are just general, yeah, we do migrations or Office 365 migration, you're missing the mark, okay? Our idea, and this is how we've shaped our partners, is we create offers that are in line with Microsoft sales plays. Why? Because we know the Microsoft account executive is looking at that offer, and if your offer kind of talks about the sales play that makes sense to him, with them, what's in it for me? Hey, cool, I'm going to talk to them. We also have specific ideas behind assets. So in this optimal roadmap, you want to develop co-sell ready Azure Marketplace offers. Next, you want to leverage MCI engagements in GTM process. Now, MCI means two things, okay? Microsoft Commerce Incentive is the acronym, but there's two incentives. One is the back-end incentives that we all know about, right? 4, 6, 10%, 12%, depending on the workload, great. But the other part of MCI are the engagement. These are assessments. These are deployment dollars. These are envisioning sessions. These are co-op envision. They're meant for you to do pre-sales and post-sales work, right? So there's two parts. So what we tell our partners is that, okay, after you've achieved the advanced specialization, we do mapping. So we'll say, okay, let's take a look at your past 50 to 60 clients over the past 2 years. Yeah, I know you've already sold them Azure, but maybe you didn't sell them Office 365, or maybe you sold them Office 365, but you didn't do Azure. We're going to map all of those clients and then go back into the MCI engagement portal and say, yo, which ones can I apply these? Then we take that list of all this money that we can get, we give it back to the partner and say, hey, give this to your salespeople and tell them to go make some phone calls because there's money to be given away that's going to bring us business. Perfect. That's exactly what we want to do. Okay. Next is achieve the infrastructure specialization. Okay. So that's kind of, we want most people to go to, is that's kind of the biggest tranche of incentive guides that there are, the biggest tranche of things to look at. So we want you to get that. And then lastly, begin a co-sell initiative with Microsoft. So many of you are like, well, there's a lot of channel conflict. I don't want to do that. But hold on a minute. There isn't anymore because, you know, from 500 to 2,500 seats, all those people have to go get off the EAs. They have to go to CSP. Microsoft wants them all to go to CSP. Channel conflict is over, right? But you have to understand how to do it, right? And I'll give you a small piece of advice. What we tell our partners is after they get the advanced specialization, we'll say, okay, in the past 2 years, how many clients do you have that are 500 seats and above? They're like, I got 6. I've got 20, depending on the size. I got 2, right? Didn't matter. What we do is we say, okay, great. We're going to go ahead and deal reg those as deal registrations inside a marketplace. Why do we do that? Because what we want to do is get a hold of the Microsoft account executive that's on that deal. We want to introduce ourselves as the partner who's in their account and say, hey, by the way, you probably didn't know this, but I helped your ACR attribution. And number 2, how can we work together to help push more of your initiatives with our current client? But more importantly, we've got a repeatable process that we know can help your other clients do more business quicker, better, faster, right? So the idea here is you're using leverage and a wedge to get in front of the right people to kind of accelerate what you're actually doing. Okay, so this is the optimal partner roadmap in my mind to open up the biggest ROI as a Microsoft partner. I could probably end the whole session today just on this one. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, this is what I would do if I was a partner, and this is what we tell all of our partners to actually do. Okay, so the next thing I just want to kind of briefly touch on is understanding incentives and impact. And you know what this really does, this talks about what you get based on what you had. So if you're Silver Legacy, right, 3 to 5%, right, but that's gone now. Gold, 5 to 8%, right? So currently in solution partner designations, you're going to get 10 to 15%, sometimes at 20. So like a VDI deal, if you had an SPD, you'd be making 21 points actually, because you get 4 and 6 for the CSP, and then the new workload, you get an additional, 10 points, right? So there's about 21 points that are out there just on that SPD. But if you had the specialization, you're getting an additional 5 to 10% on top of that, not to mention the deployment, the assessment, and the bounties and the accelerated ACR on the back end. I know on a VDI deal, you can make a net new VDI deal. Microsoft for the first year will give you 30% of the value of that net new VDI deal. So if you had a $100,000 VDI deal, virtual desktop infrastructure, they would give you an additional $30,000 just back in incentive money. It's not even anything you got to apply for. It's part of the bounty. It's unbelievable. And then the 9,000 for a net new logo. Holy crap. Wait, what? Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's find that. All right. So if we understand the impact with their Microsoft specialization incentive rebates, this is just kind of what we did is we broke down the solution area, right? These are add-on incentive rebates. So if you get the Azure VMware solution, Azure Stack, you get an additional 8 to 10%, right? Kubernetes, 6 to 8%, which you'd think would be a little bit more for Kubernetes. And oh, look at that, low code application development. You'd think more because of the AI piece of it, right? So yeah, it's crazy, right? All right, so those are the specialization rebates. Now I'm going to pause here for just a second while I take a quick drink. If there's any questions on what I said or comments, please go to the chat window, ask away. I'm happy to get into it. I just don't want to feel like I'm talking down to everybody. So give me a second. Let me. Okay. Kind of with the whistle there. Got to keep talking. All right. Okay. So the next thing I want to kind of go over. It went too far. Cons. Cons. Okay, for not getting your solution. I know that's that's a double negative. I do believe we have to reword that. You lose co-sell eligibility, right? We definitely want to have solution partner designation, because what if we get that get that one client that's over 500, right? You're ineligible for your partner incentives. You lack that customer-facing badge. Now, okay, I know that this is a bullet point there, but I will tell you, this is one thing I'm gonna go against the grain on. There was still some value of telling you're a silver or gold partner in the marketplace. There is. People know that. Customers get that. If you tell a partner or a customer, I got a solution partner designation. Okay, great. I've got a bridge to sell you in Arizona too, right? So I mean, yeah, there's a lack of facing badge, but you can't ever earn the advanced specializations. Now, on the next thing, if you look at, went the wrong way. The cons of, let's go one more, not getting your specialization, right? That is less differentiation in the marketplace. Now, if you have your SPD, you can create an offer in the marketplace, but the advanced really helps you there. You get lower visibility in the Microsoft tools, meaning that Microsoft doesn't know who you are, as well as their partner, their account executives don't know who you are. You're not going to get any referrals, not just fewer, I would just say zero. And then there's really no extra incentive tiers and or benefits. So, I know I'm not trying to be a Microsoft. I mean, I know that we do everything for Microsoft, we're Microsoft. I'm just being a translator here. There's 1,000 other programs we could delve into. You getting this and getting that, but I'm just looking at what's good and what's bad and what you should do. Okay, this is my advice from my perspective, and we're in this business just every single day. Okay, so what I want to show you here is understanding partner strategy, and really what that is this is going to be kind of a sample audit. So this is it's not really the whole audit by any means, but what I want to kind of show you and walk through with a few of you, or with not just a few of you, with all of you here, is what are the things that we're looking for? Okay, what is important to us to maximize? So you could take this and then go into your own portal and figure it all out. You totally could, or you could ask us. But more importantly, I want to show you what we look at. Okay, so costly gaps that really hurt your business, right? This is the big hurdle, right? Or the thing that lost revenue. Okay, that's a big deal. Certification gaps. Many of you have. I call the engineers the inmates. I don't know what. Don't take it the wrong way. The inmates run the asylum a lot of times, but your engineers have certifications, but they're not tagged to your Microsoft Partner Center. They're just not. They're just not. Okay, and we need to figure that out, because that's hurting getting your solutions or your solution partner, your designations, right? Tracking data, that is the biggest thing that we were finding, right? Inaccurate customer growth data in many different ways, right? Underutilized Microsoft tools, membership risk, expiring designations and misrenewals. We met with a partner last week who didn't really realize, their silver expired like in June. And they're like, yeah, we got our last check in July, it was about 32,000, and we're not getting anything anymore. What's going on? I'm like, well, hold on, let's take a look. The first thing I always go to is membership. Oh, you expired. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, you don't get any money anymore. And then it was one of those holy Moses moments, right? Well, what do we got to do? I'm like, okay, let me help you out, right? Now, last thing too, I think is what's really important. It's hurting your business. If you are working with Microsoft there is there's no benchmarking. There's no insights, on top partner performance, right? They don't know who you are. I can't tell you. I had a partner the other day, and a PDM reached out to me, and I said to Microsoft, I was like, hey, take a look at this partner. They're doing great things. They looked them up and like, I don't see anything. I'm like, son of a gun. We got to help them out with that, right? So I think that's what was hurting your business. So with that, we have a bit of an audit sample. So these are the things that we look at. Okay, so the first thing we always look at is membership and designation. So in this example, we notice that their action pack has expired. Their modern work SMB SPD was expiring, right? But we wanted them to renew it. And then we realized that they didn't qualify for any other SPDs, and they had no packages purchased. I know this is a rudimentary part of an audit, but we got to figure this out first, right? Then we look at expiring benefits, and in this case, they had no Azure credits, and all of these internal use right licenses were going away. We recently helped another partner who was, oddly enough, paying for all their own licenses. And I was like, what is going on here, right? And they had like 200 people. And I said, hold on a minute, let's take a look. Now, they were outside of their SPD, so we helped them quickly get an exception, blah, blah, blah. It got them on there. And just imagine what it costs, per month at 200 seats of E3 or E5, right? Beautiful thing. So we take a look at this, really super important when it comes to expiring benefits and understanding that. Okay. Then we go into an incentives overview. This is a really important part of thing. Remember when I talked to you about the Microsoft Commerce Incentive Program? There's two aspects of that, right? One is earnings and incentives. What did you earn in the past? There's another thing called ineligible earnings. So if you go into your membership portal, not membership portal, but you go into your portal.microsoft.com and you go to incentives, right? And you look at your or earnings, excuse me, not incentives. You go to earnings, and then you filter 12 months, and you want to take a look at that. There's going to be a pie chart that comes up, and one of the things that you might see is this called ineligible, and you're thinking, what the heck? So, an example, we found out I had another company last week that had something like 175,000 in ineligible. What was it? It was Azure. Well, they had the Modern Work SPD, and they figured that, hey, if I have, my Azure Silver, or I'm having one thing, I'm going to get incentives for everywhere. No, you're not. If you don't have the Azure incentive or one of the 3 SPDs for Azure, you're not getting the backend incentives. You're only getting for the Modern Work. That was a problem. So that's something that you really want to look at is, actually, it's on the furthest right-hand corner. You see that one, 80,000 incentives ineligible revenue in 2024. 30,000 and due to, this is the exact example of that, right? So you want to look at that. Right. So you want to look at the back end, but also we also want to look at, have you applied for any assessment dollars? Have you applied for any deployment dollars? Are you mapping? Are you trying to get the right money? Yes, no, maybe so. Holy crap. Let's figure this out. So we do an incentives overview, super important, right? Also co-op. Please, ladies, gentlemen, it's coming up towards the end of the year. We've got to start claiming this. You got to find your co-op. Okay, I'm going to give you the example. Andres and David, would you mind just typing in the steps to go to look for co-op inside of earnings? Just, earnings, filter, date range, all that kind of stuff. Can you guys just do that? We're going to give you the steps to quickly look at co-op, or there's also a link too that I think we have that we can furnish everybody. Don't leave any money on the table, please. Okay, because something, if you don't spend your co-op, it goes away. Okay, Microsoft says, thank you so much. I appreciate you as a partner. You're the best because you allowed me to keep the money I was going to pay you. Please don't do that. Okay, our motto here at the Crancer Group, we got 2 mottos. One motto is the water finds the crack. Since we're in this every single day, we find loopholes left, right, and center. Okay, the water finds the crack. We're always there. Our second thing is we don't allow Microsoft to keep any dollars whatsoever of your co-op. If you notice that you have a large co-op balance, give us a call. We're happy to help you out. We do a lot of things that follow that, but we also will help you out with any extra that you need. We'll go ahead and take care of that for you. Don't use it. Don't worry about that. Okay. So Andres is starting to put that stuff in there for you. So these are really important to understand. It's the incentives, right? Next is, okay, how can we utilize funding for an Azure SPD? So look at this. These are different funding opportunities if you have an Azure Solution Partner designation, which means that you don't have to get an advanced specialization to get access to some things. You might not know that. You might think I have no access to anything. Well, look at that. Okay, there are some MCI engagements that are important. So we'll take a look at that, right? And we'll try to start mapping to help you out. But you can find those, okay, in the incentives tabs, okay, and then go to MCI engagements in the upper left-hand corner of the partner portal. It's very simple. And then it's broken up into 4 different workloads. It starts with Modern Work, then it goes to Azure, Office 360, Azure business apps, and I think there's one on security. I think those are the 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but that's pretty much the 4. And then inside of that, you're going to see green check marks next to what makes sense, right? Okay, what are you eligible for? If you don't get the green check mark, you're not eligible for it. So anyways, really interesting stuff there. Make sure you take a look at that. Okay, so when we go into an earnings analysis, this is kind of cool because when we do that, this is really important, right? Because we want to find the missed earnings. So you can go into your earnings tab, okay, and start pulling a lot of this information out, but we break it down because we want to do it by levers. What are you making per lever? And you want to look at that. Really important because a lot of times we've said, well, wait a minute, how much Azure are you part of? And they're like, yeah, we do $2.6 million in Azure, with Microsoft. I'm like, huh. Well, it says that you're only getting X amount of dollars in Azure. Let's take a look at that. And that's usually where we start finding breakage, right? And that's a good thing for you when you're looking at this inside of your partner center. It's like, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. Okay. One of the first exercises that we also do with a partner is naming convention cross matching, which I'll get into in a second, but it helps with finding some of the breakage. But earnings, right? We'll take a look at 24, 25 projected, what they're looking at, what's our delta, how do we kind of figure that out, right? Our next thing that we do as well, and this is what you should be doing, is we'll do an SPD overview. So we'll actually look at all of the solution partner designations, and in this case, we set up like this really cool, graphic, like, okay, hey, look, you're 48 out of 100, 60 out of 100 security. So we're trying to figure, what's going on inside of that. And then we'll go ahead and then give a sample roadmap. So one of the things that's really difficult about the SPDs is understanding what certifications to take. Now, remember, this is not necessarily money oriented, what I'm showing you right now, but this is what triggers the backend incentives, right? So we need to understand this, right? So when we go into it, we want to look at our certs. Now, I'll give you another quick tip here. Another quick tip here. You can find all this stuff inside a partner center. When you go into the SPD, and let's say you go into Azure, right? Azure infrastructure, you look on view details, click on view details, and that's where you can download the reports of who's actually assigned to you. Okay, who's not assigned, who's got what, who's got nothing. Now, here's a tip for you. If you are having trouble or you think, gosh, I just can't get enough people to take the test, no problem. We actually have a resource called Certification as a Service, where if you need 4 or 5 certs, but you don't want to go spend 500,000 in net new people who have these certifications, or your people won't get them, we know a company that you can actually get all 5 at once. So they'll say, okay, what do you need? You're like, I need these intermediate and advanced. And they're like, give us 30 days. We'll assign you those. All you have to do is hire one of them full time. Now, this is out of India. So it's kind of cool because not only do you get your certs and turn on all your back-end incentives and all that money, right? Getting your action, but now you get one level 400 that works back office for how much? I think it's like $4,000 a month. We don't have a financial tie to them, but they're just very good. And we refer them. So if you have a problem or you have a question, contact us. We'll put you in touch. We'll just do a warm introduction, but that will solve that problem with getting these certs. So this is kind of a sample roadmap for that. All right. Wow, man, I blew through this stuff. I didn't realize that I was at towards the end here. All right, so let's do this last poll. And look, if you'd like us to contact you about the audit process, go ahead and put yes or no. We'll do that. We're not submitting to who says anything. Please, it's fine. It is just for us to call you if you need it. But anyways, long story short, the main thing we really want to key up on really is how do you make the most money, right, out of your out of working with Microsoft. And it really, this is what it is. We got to focus on these key elements and key areas. If you want to, I'll give you another tip here. One of the things that we also do that's important is we'll ask a partner, we'll say, hey, download your customer list in your CRM. And they're like, oh, okay, right. And then you say, okay, now download, and let's download the list in Partner Center, and then call up your distributor and download that list. Super important, okay, because what we want to do is cross-reference. What we find a lot of times is we'll find naming convention issues. So at distribution, you got JP Morgan Chase, but on your partner center, you got John Paul Morgan Chase. Well, they don't match up. Well, that's one of the problems. You'd be surprised how much that is a problem. Okay. Another big problem that you would be surprised is such a big problem is number one, having wait, what's going on here? What? Who took over control? You guys.
Sorry about that. That was my fault.
Yeah, what the heck?
Hit the wrong button. Hit the wrong
Anyways,
button.
where was
Hit the wrong
I?
button.
Remind me. You threw me off, Rich. Where was I? Oh, partner of record. Andres, do you mind chiming in on a little bit of like the exercise or partner of record and the pain?
Yeah, CPOR, CSP, whatever it is, there's a lot of different ways to get attribution from customers. It ultimately comes down to how you're working with them. Microsoft is either going to give you credit directly for selling licensing, or they're going to give you credit for enabling the utilization of the licensing as well. I'll give everybody a quick little tip to take with you guys. Something that's not very well understood in the enterprise modern workspace, what a lot of people don't understand is that you could literally sell the customer the licensing. You could be getting paid out incentives by Microsoft for that licensing, and yet not actually get credit for that customer as a net add or as a deployment or towards usage growth. Because the only way inside of the enterprise modern work calculation is through CPOR. So you're going to have to go through the whole process of submitting the SOW with that customer, having them sign off the work that you've done to showcase that, again, you're not just selling the licensing, you're also enabling the utilization of it. They understand that if a customer uses a license to a certain degree, their likelihood of renewing is that much higher. So a lot of nuance there. I've been working on this with Dave for a lot of our recent customers, and I funny little thing, I told him, I said, the reality is, Dave, we just got to go full Karen. That's really sometimes the only way we can get some of these things approved. And it's just, they've got their whole set of rules in place that they're looking to follow, and so you have to understand how to play the game.
So actually, how about you? We got some exceptions recently. So can you talk about like what does it mean to get an exception, and can you actually do that? Many partners don't know that you actually can apply for that. So maybe can you just give a little, not naming the partner, but just the scenario?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about exceptions. They're very difficult. They're not even going to consider an exception towards a solution designation until you have at minimum 65 points. So just a heads up for everybody. Now, I think the most important thing to understand about any exception that you're going to try and get is there has to be some story that you can lean into to help you get across the finish line, right? They're typically looking for some type of error from their side, something that either the data is not reporting accurately, or there's some kind of issue with how the data is being presented, that you're going to have to go in detail and understand, I should be getting credit for these 15 customers. I'm only getting credit for 14, which means it's changing my net adds, it's changing my deployments, and my usage growth is down 3%. And so you're going to have to be able to explain that in minute detail and tell that story to the support team, because they're then going to have to go to their leadership, who's going to have to take a look and make sure it looks good. And then they're going to have to go to their boss, who's going to ultimately make the final decision on whether or not this gets accepted or not. It's not a quick process, and there's no guarantees that you can put behind it, but I mean, it is worthwhile if there's something there. If you just simply don't have enough customers, you can go ahead and try, you're not going to get it. It's just I've done it before from both angles. They're not very nice about just giving you credit for no reason, but you've got some angle that you can pull, some lever that you can try and explain your situation. I'll give a perfect example. One of my partners, I got them exception for modern work because they were at I want to say it was like 67 points, and the biggest problem is that when we first started working together, I told him, hey, you guys are paying $500 a month for your licenses. Why don't you just go buy one of the benefits packages for $400 and you don't have to pay anything for the rest of the year? And I said, oh, kind of a good idea. So, we went ahead and did that. But then 7, 8 months in the future, once they're finally ready to finally qualify for the SPD, guess what's going on? They're getting credited as a lost customer, a lost deployment, and lost usage growth because they were taking their tenant into account into the calculation. And I told the support team, I said, you guys are nuts. This is supposed to measure how they are doing with customers. And so you're basically saying because you are no longer paying for your own licensing, you don't get the SPD. And I said, that doesn't make any sense, guys. That it's completely against the entire ethos of the program. And so, again, we built that story, and it took 2-3 weeks, but we did end up getting that exception, and that was a huge win.
Oh,
So-
that's great. Hey, we've got two other things that are quick tips. One is, do you want to explain for net customer ads? Let's say you are missing 3 inside of Modern Work. What is our advice, Andres, to a partner to say, hey, we have an easy way to get those 3 customer ads?
It's a stopgap, I'll say first off, but it is possible. There's actually another way I can talk to. The first way, I think, number one, you got to have some relationships already built out. But the cheapest way to do it is you go say like you've got like 3 or 4 nonprofits that you work with regularly. Majority of nonprofits.
Save the whales.
The majority of them do everything for free, right? They've got some free Google licensing more often than not that they're utilizing. And so they've probably never tried out the Microsoft 365 suite. We know that licensing is cheaper, but it also counts towards your scoring. And so if you want to go out of the goodness of your heart, you want to go ahead and provide some licensing to some of these potential customers, they're going to count as net ads, right? So that could be a stopgap.
11 licenses at $5 a piece per net ad qualifies you. And how much does that cost? $55 a month.
Correct. Now you have to buy the full year for any nonprofit licensing, as far as I understand. So you got to keep that in mind. The other option that I wanted to mention is, again, you got to understand how to play the game. To Sherman's point, 11 licenses is the minimum for it to count as a net ad. I'm sure if you were to do an audit of your current customer list, this is what I always tell all my partners whenever they need like two net ads to get over the top. How many of your customers have 9 licenses, have 10 licenses right now? Is there an opportunity to maybe give somebody a free bonus? Hey, test this out. Give this to somebody else. That's going to count as a net ad. So, there's different ways. Just got to be a little bit creative if we're struggling to drive new business. What options are in place?
So Jamie just said, yeah, you can still do nonprofit month to month. Oh my gosh, that's even I love that, Jamie. Thanks for mentioning that. That is so awesome. Yeah, so think about it. It's also a write-off, ladies and gentlemen. Your donation is a write-off to these nonprofits. Go save some whales. Go help out, right? Whatever. Save the trees. Whatever you feel good. The other thing too is just think about this. How I would do it, I'd call up the nonprofit and be like, hey, I want to support your organization. I'm going to give you 11 licenses. And also we're going to give you a quick little walkthrough, 40-minute walkthrough for all your employees that have these licenses on how to use this information. Okay, how to use the new software, right? Now, we're finding that when we do that with partners and they're doing that, 60% of these net new acquisitions ask them to do other work. So a way of getting business is weird. Qualifying for Microsoft ends up turning into business. Okay. Now, one last tip before we go. Okay. There's this thing inside of the solution partner that is called utilization rate or enablements, which means are you turning on the licenses that you're selling? Now, in Azure, it's not a big deal because all you got to do is turn on the VM. VM, boom. Okay. Light up the window. But in Modern Work or security, it's based on 5 or 6 different. They have to turn on, or they have to actually use some of the applications. Okay, so when we do our analysis, if they're not using more than 40%, if it's 39%, they don't get, there's no attribution. So they got to get to 40% of Outlook, Viva, Teams, a couple other ones. And my team will put the list in the thing. But what we do is we'll look at all of those people, right? We'll look at all the ones that are under 40%, and then we'll give them back to the partner and we'll say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Partner, I want you to call each one of these clients and say, hey, we notice you're not using some of the licensing, but what we want to do for you, like you did with a nonprofit, is do a quick 40-minute walkthrough, okay? All hands, 40 minutes, quick walkthrough, an introduction to Office 365 and whatever, right? And in that walkthrough, you're basically saying, okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming. Let's everybody open up Teams. Let's all send each other a message. They send it, boom, that lights up. Okay, guys, let's go over to Teams meetings. We're gonna create one, and we're gonna do a dummy one here. Great. Let's go to Outlook. Let's show a couple things here. Let's go to Viva. Let's go to SharePoint Teams. You just kind of do a quick walkthrough. They turn the stuff on, they touch it. All of a sudden, that utilization rate goes from 40 to 70 or 80 or 100. Quick way of doing that. But we're also finding, just like in the nonprofits, 80% of the time that we've helped a partner do that for a company, we don't actually do it, but we help them kind of set it up and do this. 80% of the time, it turns into net new business. Because they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, Copilot, what the heck is that? Oh, I like this. Let's turn it on for 5 or 6 different people. So, this is just good news. So anyways, look, we got 3 minutes to go. I want to say thank you, everybody, for coming today. I really appreciate it. I sincerely appreciate everybody coming. I appreciate that, you guys have helped out with the polls. I appreciate that you've put your name and contact information in there for other people to be able to network with you. That's what we really want to do. So next month, I think we're having maximizing your co-op dollars. But we're not doing something in December, but we're going to be in January. We're actually having guest speakers, January, February, March from Microsoft. The first one's going to be on the marketplace. Christine, I forget her last name, but she's going to be from the marketplace. That's going to be amazing because she's going to really give us the ins and outs. And we saw, want to kind of keep this going, right? So we're looking forward to that. But anyways, I hope you got something from this. If you need anything, give us a call, send us an email, whatever. We'll be happy to talk. We always talk first. We're not commercializing anything. Thank you for coming. Thank you and have a great afternoon, a great weekend. Great. Thank you, Andres and my team for doing a great job keeping this all together. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.